You may have heard the phrase about a picture being worth 1,000 words. Imagine what a painting's worth, with all those layers and interesting stories to tell. No more so is true than this very coach here behind me. Join us today as we dive into the carriage work to find out the interesting story behind one of our very own Mark 1s. Welcome to In the Loop. Hello folks and welcome to the Watercliff Sign. And before we start, if you have been enjoying what you've been seeing lately, then do please consider hitting that subscribe button. You'll be surprised how much a little click can help this railway. Now before we dive into today's episode, it's time for a quick look around the railway to see what's been happening since we last saw you. Well, let's start off with our diesel gala. What a brilliant few days that was. Some excellent visitors and some interesting formations. HSTs matched with a 4TC in the middle. What's not more to love? And you may have already seen our interview with our operations manager Richard about the event and to catch up a little bit on the progress with line, so do give that a watch. You may have also seen our thumper 1125 up at Alton. It worked its way up there under its own power and we used it to start their big appeal to get this unit back into service fit for passengers. To find out a little bit more about the fundraiser, you can either scan the QR code on screen or I'll put a link in the description below. To find out a bit more about the unit in general and the progress with work in getting this back up and running fit for passenger service, then do follow them on their Facebook page, Thumper1125. Again, I'll put a link in the description below. Now into the boiler shop where we have Canadian Pacific. Last time, as you saw, it was having its steam test. Well, I'm delighted to say it has passed. So now on to the next stage. At the back you can see they're fitting and painting the crinoline, and this has two functions. The first one is that's what the boiler cladding fits to, which is that very distinctive painted finish. And underneath it, that's where you have the boiler lagging, the insulation that keeps all that heat in the boiler. We don't want to waste any now, do we? A bit further down, they're also doing some work on the handrails, and at the top you can see they're doing some work on the main steam pipe, and that's where the manifold fits on. Steam gets taken from the boiler, through the manifold, passed back through the tube, superheated, and then down into the cylinders to be used. At the front, they have test fitted the smoke box to the front of the boiler, and that all went swimmingly. They've also test fitted the chimney to the top of the smoke box. So we're looking at the bottom at the moment. There's the door, which is at the front, chimney goes in the hole at the back, and yeah, another couple of little stages to getting this engine back up and running. Now into Ropley MPD we go, and we start with our standard 475079 you can see here. The wheels are currently in and they're currently doing some alignment works here on the slide bar and motion. Understandably this is a big locomotive, but we are still talking thousandths of an inch tolerance, so a lot of time and effort required. Behind you can see the standard 4's tender, which is nearly done actually. You can see there's a lovely lick of paint on it except for some work they're doing on the top, and near the front they're also doing some work on fabricating the doors, which will be for the lockers and coal space as well. Well, in the carriage shop, look at this. This is our bully coach, or the interior of it, where they've been doing work on the roof. The roof is now finished, timbered up, ready for that epoxy and canvas, which should hopefully make it last a fair bit longer than the 4 or 5 years you'd normally expect. Talking hopefully 40 or 50. Once that's done, the interior fit out will happen. So our seats, which have been upholstered, they are currently stored in the ferry van, which we saw early on into this process. Once it's all done, the interior fit out begins, the ferry van will be coupled onto the back and everything will be, well, ferried back in. While we're here, there's one more thing I want to show you guys. Now at the back here is the guards compartment and sort of luggage area, which is where you guys are at the moment. This here is the guards van. Interesting features as we've seen before, the periscope which you can find on some bullied brakes so the guard can see along their train, and the handbrake which is a requirement for the guards van because it is a brake vehicle. So when the locomotive's not on here, you screw the handbrake on and that stops your train rolling away down the hill. They decided to extend the guards compartment itself because it was a little bit cramped, so they've taken it and it's a good foot this way now, so a bit more space for the guards to sort of have, and you don't exactly lose too much space from the compartment itself because this here used to be a cupboard, so essentially it's a win-win situation. You're not losing much space but you're still gaining a fair bit as well. While we're in the carriage works, let's have a look at our dance hall brake van here. Previously we saw outside. Now a group of guys, they're currently working on the brake rigging and the bottom end stuff. So this is the drawbar, there's one at either end and they've been taken out for non-destructive testing. We want to make sure this is absolutely sound. There's quite a few things that need to be bush, but then again this van is about 99 years old, so it's understandable. I was chatting to Ian about the team doing this and he did mention that they do 1 week a year at the railway. So I asked, why is it a work thing? No, turns out one of them comes from Canada, just to volunteer here. That, my friends, is commitment. Well, a lot here happening at the Waterless line. Now, as I mentioned earlier, a picture's worth 1,000 words and a painting must be worth a lot more for all the layers involved. And no more so is true than this one. As you can see, there's actually 3 different liveries you can see straight from the offset. Midland, BR Blue and Southern Green. Every time a coach comes into the carriage works for work, they'll do a thorough inspection and examination to see what work needs to be done to it, and they found a surprising amount with this one. On one side in particular, it had a side swipe incident before it came to us, and the old method used to be just cover it with filler, assuming it's structurally sound, and paint over it. And as they've gone on, more and more jobs have presented themselves. So to find out a little bit more about what work's been done on this, and to give you guys a good idea of just what's underneath this paintwork, we chatted to one of the guys here, Neil.
Hi, I'm Neil. I work in the carriage shop here at Ropley. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the coaches we've got in here today. So this one is 4822. So it's an SO. S is the second open. The reason this is here, it's had quite a lot of water damage where the gutter was. We've taken the gutter down and you can see round the sides of the doors where in fact the gutter was leaking and the water's got behind. What that's actually done, it's sort of got into the door pillars on these coaches and rotted them out. So basically most of the repairs we're doing here today is actually replacing the door pillars. While we've been doing it, you can see some quite interesting features. You can see some of the original paint, some of the maroon paint. This coach was built, I think, in 1959 at Birmingham Carriage and Wagon. And you can see the original numbers, M for Midland, 4822. We were talking the other day just about the spacing of these numbers, and just how much wider they are compared to the southern ones, which we'll put on a bit later on. So yeah, quite interesting stuff really. You can also see the blue from the blue and grey, which went on a little bit later. Okay, so moving down a little bit, this is one of the, you can see these have had repairs over the years. This was quite a standard repair around the windows. Water used to seep in and rot around the bottom of the windows there. And the standard repair was to cut the material out and let a piece in. So you can obviously see where they've done that on this. And it's also had this, what they call the standard 6-inch repair as well, where the material from there downwards has been replaced. So you can see that a little bit clearly later on. Okay, so we're now at the centre door. This one you can see I've taken the door pillars out on this. And we've repaired the steel at the top. That's all gone in as new material. And then down the sides, re-drilled the holes, re-tapped the holes for the wooden pieces. They've all been made, so they'll be going in hopefully by the end of this week. And that's done. Just next to it here, which is quite interesting, we can see pretty much bare metal, and then you start to see the build-up of the layers of paint. So obviously, yeah, the original primer, some of the maroon, and then going up to the maroon here, the blue and the grey, and then finally the green. So you can kind of see just how many layers we're going to have to put on this coach, just to get it back to where it should be. Obviously where the 6-inch repair was as well, there's quite a lot of filler. Over the years where there's been a few dents appear, filler's gone in to try and smooth those bits out. So that will have to be redone, I'm sure. Okay. Oh, so we're now down at the far end of the coach. You can see here some of the big areas of filler that have been put in. That's quite deep. That's probably about at least a couple of mil deep. There's a few dents which obviously then been filled and then painted over the top. We also discovered that here there's quite a nice dent. Not sure how that got in there, but there is. And then that was all filled. What's happened is that the water's got behind the filler and bubbled it all out, so that's all had to come out. And we'll go back to bare metal and start again. So that's that, and then we open the door. Okay, here's another quite interesting feature. There's normally a door card that we call it, which is a piece of timber which is varnished up and looks all nice and pretty. This is what it hides. So this is how the window operates. There's a spring mechanism in here, which just means that when you push down on it, it's sprung, doesn't drop all the way to the bottom. And there's these little bump stops at the bottom, stops it going all the way down. Okay. When you go to lift the window up, it's spring loaded, so it just slides up nice and easily. Springs are mounted inside these tubular bits here. So inside the coach now, sliding lights have been having some attention. They've got stuck, so they've all been out cleaned and refurbished. They're all starting to go back in now, and they slide quite nicely. On the seats, again, as I said earlier, we get quite a lot of sun damage on this side, and you can see how the seats have faded and had patches. Hopefully what we're going to do this time around is we're going to replace the moquette on these seats. We have some of this stuff in stock, so hopefully it won't be too much of a big job to take the seats out and replace the moquette on them. Okay, thank you very much. This just about sums it up for this week. Hopefully it gives you a bit of an insight as to what goes on in these coaches and just how much goes on underneath the skin, the stuff that you don't normally see. So when you're next riding out on this, having your nice Sunday lunch, perhaps have an idea of what's behind it all.
Now, while we're in the carriage works, here's another little job which you never really see. Understandably, organisation is a massive part of any engineering workplace, and one of our volunteers, John, unfortunately got what I can only understand to be the shortest of all short straws when it came to this next task.
Hi, my name's John Denyer. I've been working at the Mid-Ants as a volunteer for 5 years, after retiring from BR after 50 years, but I haven't been doing this all my life. And this is one of the challenges that just comes your way every now and again. All these components on here are different types of door hinges. Now most people just think a door goes on a train, but actually you get 3 types of doors. You get glass fibre doors, you get steel doors, you get aluminium doors. And all the hinges that go on those doors are all different. So you get different hinges for passenger doors, you get different hinges for guards van doors, you get different hinges for luggage van doors. So there's numerous amounts of hinges, but they all basically come into 3 types, just to match the body profile. In British Railways days, they all went through various works, whether it was Doncaster, Eastleigh, Swindon, and it seems that every works had different ideas of classification of hinges by the stampings they put on the bottom. On here, for instance, you've got a DRE5 and a DRE6. We're trying to ascertain whether that stands for Doncaster as an example. But what we're finding is that even though we know where the hinge goes in the position relative to the door, they're all different sizes and they're all different heights and they're all different angles. So we've got to try and work out the lot, and it's extremely time consuming. So we can't do it in a hurry. You've got to come in. It's not a job you can do for a quarter of an hour here or a quarter of an hour there. It's an all-day job and you've got to concentrate. And at the end of the day, we are hoping to get them all sorted so that when a vehicle comes in for a door change, we can easily ascertain which hinge goes with which door, pluck it off the pile, fit it in no time. Whereas at the moment, it's taking ages to try and work out which hinge.
So there you are, guys. A lot's happening in the carriage works and a lot you don't get to see. Now, we thought we'd leave you with something a little bit special. We've been working on a project to enhance the on-train experience. There's so much to see outside your window which you may not be aware of. So we've been working on something rather special indeed. Thanks for watching, folks. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you so much to Neil and John for talking to us. And we'll see you next time, and I'll leave you with this.
Hello and welcome to the Watercress Line, Hampshire's Heritage Railway, and welcome aboard this tour with me, Peter Dixon. On our journey up the line to Alton and back, I'll be here to give you an insight into this wonderful railway. From its history to the sights you can see en route, the Watercress Line has plenty to offer, believe me. I'll tell you about the building of the line and the local area, the story of the railway as we know it today, involving dedication, disaster and triumph. We're now approaching Ropley. If Alresford is the home of the railway, then Ropley is the hub. Medstead and Four Marks is one of those wonderful stations where you can hop off, watch the train go, and just sit back, relax, and enjoy your peaceful surroundings. We are now approaching our end station, Oldham, where we connect with the mainline services to London Waterloo. Do take the opportunity to explore this gem of a station. There are little pockets of history dotted all the way up the platform. Don't forget, your ticket gives you unlimited travel on our trains. So do take the chance to head up the line, hop off at one of our stations, and continue exploring this wonderful part of Hampshire. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Thanks for joining me.